Welcome to the Conference Manager tutorial series. In this video, we are going to cover how to set up your registration form, as well as walk through the front end of the form that a user will see once the form is enabled. We are going to log into the demo community, which has the community ID 2. As a review, let's look at the URL to log into this community. You will notice we are logging into https://my.confmanager.com/community/2/login. This URL will be the format for every login page on the Conference Manager application. The only difference being the community number. When adding links to your community from a client's website, be sure to include the correct community number in the URL. Let's log in. If a client is a user in multiple communities, they can access their other communities by navigating to their user profile. They can then select the desired community from the community card. If they are accessing a community for the first time, then it will not appear on their community card. They will need to access the login page using the URL we just mentioned with the proper community ID. Once they complete a task such as member enrollment or registration in the new community, they will then see that community on the community card in their user profile. The first thing to check before you start setting up the registration form is whether the registration module is enabled for your community. To enable and disable modules, you must be a global admin. You can navigate to the Manage Community page found under the Community Admin dropdown. On the Features card, make sure Registration is checked to access the module. Now we will navigate to the Manage Registration page. This can be found on the dashboard or in the left menu bar by clicking Registrations. Each community can have as many registration forms as they need. These can be workshops you provide throughout the year, a conference you offer annually, or whatever other conference cycle you offer. The Manage Registration page will initially only have the Create New Registration button. After registration forms are created, they will be listed below. In this community, there is one registration form active. The Edit dropdown offers a few different options. If you click on Edit, it will take you to the Edit Registration page. If you click on the dropdown, you will see options for clone, registrants, payment summary, waitlists, abstracts, and booth registration. To save you valuable setup time year after year, you can clone an existing form by clicking on the Clone option. When this option is selected, you will see a pop-up stating that cloning the registration will create a copy of the basic payment, ticket, and stream information. Are you sure you want to clone this registration? Select Yes, and you will be taken to the Edit Registration page for your cloned registration. You will notice that the streams, payment information, and ticket steps will already be completed, signified by the green checkmark. This new form will have the same name as the previous form you just cloned. The first step after cloning is to click on the Registration Information step, change the title of your conference, and adjust the dates and details that may differ from the original setup. The rest of the setup will follow the same procedure we will outline in this tutorial. The next option on the Edit dropdown is Registrants. By clicking on this option, you will be taken directly to the Registrants page that shows all the users who have registered for your conference. We will cover this in detail later during this tutorial. After the Registrants option, you will see the Payment Summary and Waitlists options. These will take you directly to the Payment Summary page or Waitlists page for this registration form. Again, we will cover these in detail later during this tutorial. The next option is the Abstracts button. This is an important feature to understand. If you are utilizing both the Registration and Abstract module in Conference Manager, there are connections between these modules. These connections are what make the Conference Manager application so powerful. You should always create a registration form before creating an abstract form. The reason for this is because when creating an abstract form, you will be asked which registration form you'd like to connect the abstract form to. There are multiple reasons these connections should be made. First, if you want to limit who can submit an abstract, there is a feature that only allows registered users to do so. Another reason is that it will allow you to add accepted or confirmed abstracts from multiple abstract forms to the session scheduler, which is another module we will cover in a later video. We understand that most of our clients' workflows do not usually require you to open registration before you start accepting abstracts. If this is the case for you, no need to worry. The registration form does not need to be completed and enabled for you to connect the abstract module to it. Just create your registration form and leave the rest of the setup for later. We will cover this in more detail in future tutorials when we cover the abstract and session scheduler modules. The last option is booth registration. This option will only appear if the sponsors and exhibitors module is enabled in Manage Community. This will take you to the Edit Booth Form page for the sponsors and exhibitors module if you are using that module as well. We will cover this further in a future tutorial. Let's click on the Edit button for the registration named World Congress 2050. You will notice this registration has already been set up and the form is enabled, meaning users will be able to register via their dashboards. If you would like to disable the form, you can click on the Disable Registration button. When you are ready to allow registrations, simply click on the Enable Registration button. You can see the registration form has been set up because each step of the form shows a green check mark. Before setup, it will be a gray X. Unlike the membership module, the registration is customizable, so you only see the steps you want to utilize. This is done in the Steps and Streams step that we will cover soon. While you can set up some of the steps of the form in any order, we recommend starting from left to right and top to bottom, as if you were reading a book. So, with that in mind, let's start with the registration information step. In the first card of this step, you can add the title of your conference or workshop, a subtitle, and a description. All the fields on this card will be displayed to your users at the top of each step in the registration form. You will then add event start and end time and dates. You may also add the venue for your event, as well as an image for the venue. You must select a GIF, JPEG, or PNG file type not greater than 10 megabytes in size. This image may be a logo for the conference center or another image associated with the venue. You will also see a location option drop-down where virtual or in-person can be selected. You can then choose which time zone you would like all your dates and times to be displayed in. The in-person option will display all dates and times with the chosen time zone appended to it. If your time zone is not available, please choose a time zone that matches the UTC offset as the time zone you are looking for. If you choose the virtual option, the time zones will be adjusted to your user's local time zone. This is useful for virtual events where registrants will be attending in their own time zone. The second card is Terms and Conditions. This is optional, and when you click on the checkbox beside Display Terms and Conditions, you will be presented with a field for the Terms and Conditions text. If the required box is checked, then users will have to accept the terms to continue through the form. There can be as many terms and conditions as you'd like. To add additional terms, click on the Add Terms and Conditions button and complete the next field. The next card is the Post-Registration Redirects card. To add a post-registration link that will appear after users complete their registration, click on the checkbox beside Display Post-Registration Redirects. A field will appear which will show the text for the link. You will then add the redirect URL that the text will link to. In our example, we've set the Conference Manager website as the text and added our .confmanager.com to the redirect URL field. The additional information card has some radio button options to select. The first option is Allow users to edit registration information. If this option is set to yes, an additional date and time field will appear. This field is the editing cutoff date. After this date, a registrant will no longer be able to edit their registration. The next option is, do all registrants need to be members? If you are utilizing the membership module, and this is set to yes, only active or approved members can register. The Allow Group Registrations button will allow one user to register on behalf of other users. To allow a user to become a group registrar, they need to be given a special role called Group Registrar. To assign this role, you will navigate to the Community Admin drop-down and select Users. From this list, search for the user you want to give permissions to. Once found, click the Edit button beside the username. On the Community Information card, click on the drop-down that says Select Permissions and choose the Group Registrar option. That user will now be able to register on behalf of other users. The additional instructions field will be shown with the rest of the fields from the Your Registration Details card, so your users will see these instructions at the top of each step of the form. You may also add custom questions to this step. We will do a brief review of custom questions later during this tutorial. Please refer to previous tutorials if you have additional questions about custom questions. Next, let's navigate to the Stream step. We can use the left menu bar or return to the Edit Registration page to navigate there. Streams have been discussed in previous tutorials. There must be at least one stream added to your registration form. If you don't wish to utilize the stream's functionality, we recommend you create one stream titled General. Streams are a way for admins to group similar tickets. For example, you may have different tickets for registrants from low or medium income countries. There may also be a special stream for a special interest group that receives different rates for tickets or other monetized steps of the registration form. When a user clicks on a stream on the front end of the form, they will only be presented with the registration types that have been connected to that stream. We'll show you this further when we look at the ticket step shortly. To create a stream, click on the Add Stream button. You can name that stream and decide if you'd like that stream to only be accessible to users via a code. You can reorder the streams using the Order Streams button, then dragging and dropping the streams to your desired position. You can click on the Edit button to change the name or code for the stream after creation, and you can also click on the trash icon to archive a stream. On the stream page, there is the option to add custom questions. You can choose whether the question will appear before or after the registration stream. You can create a new custom question by clicking the New button, or add an existing question from the Custom Question repository by clicking the Add button. If you wish to delete a custom question that you've already added, click the trash icon. Let's navigate to Steps and Streams. Steps and Streams allows you to choose which parts of the form you want to utilize. For example, if you are not including any sessions, workshops, meals, accommodations, excursions, merchandise, special services, or accompanying persons to your form, you can uncheck these steps on this page. Some steps are required and cannot be removed. Required steps include Streams, Steps and Streams, Registration Information, Payment Information, Ticket Information, and Confirmation. For any optional steps that are turned on, you must choose which streams have access. For example, if you plan on having a stream with exclusive access to an excursion, you would apply only that stream to the excursion step. At the top of this page, you will also see a Bulk Apply Selected Streams button. If every step that you have checked is accessible by the same streams, you can use this feature to apply the selected streams to each step. Next, let's look at the Payment Information step. Most of this step will be pre-populated with the payment information you have entered on the Manage Community page, found under the Community Admin dropdown. The first card on this step contains the currency, tax calculation type, and payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions. Like every module that contains monetized items, you can select which currency prices will be shown in. This currency can be different for each module on your community if you wish. Currently, options include the Canadian dollar, euro, pound sterling, and United States dollar. The tax calculation type has two options: registrant location and registration location. The registrant location will function in conjunction with the Canadian tax table, so ensure that tax type is added to the Manage Community page for this to work properly. It will charge Canadian delegates based on the user's provincial tax rates. The registration location option will allow you to choose the custom or VAT tax types that have been entered on the Manage Community page for each monetized item. The payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions will appear on the payment screen for users when they click on the Terms and Conditions button. The last item on this card is the option to use different policy text on confirmation email. If Yes is chosen, you will be presented with another field that can have different text than the payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions. This new text will appear on the confirmation email that users receive after completing their registration. The Credit Cards card has one option that asks, "Do you accept credit cards?" If Yes is selected, two drop-downs will appear. The credit cards dropdown will add the respective logos to the payment page. This is purely visual and does not mean these cards will be available for use. The ability to use certain cards will be set up with your payment provider in the next dropdown labeled Payment Provider. This is where you will set up the API for your payment provider. We offer APIs for Bambora, Global Payments, Moneris, PayPal Pro, Square, and Stripe. When you select your payment provider, you will see a different set of fields for each card that aligns with that provider's requirements for API integration. The Pay Online card asks if you accept credit cards online. If yes is chosen, another field appears where you can enter the terms and conditions for accepting online payments. These will appear on the payment screen for users when they click on the Terms and Conditions button. The first radio button on the Pay Offline card asks, "Do you accept offline payments?" If yes is chosen, the rest of the offline payment options appear. It is recommended to accept at least one offline payment option for instances where admins are completing registrations on behalf of users but do not have their credit card information. Admins can then select an offline payment method to complete the registration and then send an invoice email from that user's user summary. The email will contain a payment URL that will take users directly to the payment page for their registration. The offline payment options available are credit cards, mail payments, phone payments, e-transfers, and wire transfers. When any of these options are toggled to yes, you will see additional fields appear to add the required information for that payment type. The payment information step also allows you to place custom questions in 3 different locations that will appear to users on the front end of this step of the form. We will now cover the ticket step. To create a ticket, click on the Create New Ticket button. You will now be on the Create Ticket page. The first card is the general ticket information. You can fill in the name field with the name of the ticket and add a description in the description field. The next dropdown is the ticket type. 2 options will appear: entire conference or specific days. If specific days is chosen, a ticket date field will appear. You may choose any combination of dates when using specific days. As you add days, they will appear beside the date field. You can delete dates by clicking the X. You will now have more options to choose for this ticket. The first option is ID required for this ticket? This will present a field for the delegate to add their ID on the front end of the form. Another option appears if yes is chosen, that being Hide ID field for members. This will prevent the ID field from being presented to users who are members in your community. The Is this ticket restricted to administrator use only option will make this ticket only available to community or global admins if selected. The Is there a limit to the number of tickets for sale option will allow you to set a ticket limit for ticket type. The last option on this card is the Is waitlisting allowed toggle. If yes is chosen, users can join a waitlist for this ticket type if the ticket limit has already been reached before they complete their registration. We will cover waitlisting further later in this tutorial. The accompanying persons card asks, can tickets be purchased by accompanying persons? If yes is chosen, a guest price field will appear, and this will allow you to offer the same ticket type to accompanying persons at a different rate. The ticket pricing card consists of 3 dropdowns. The first dropdown is the Type of Ticket Pricing. Date-based pricing allows you to enter multiple ticket tiers with different expiry dates for each tier. You will add a description for each tier, a price, and a cutoff date. Once the cutoff date is reached, the next tier, pricing will come into effect. It is best practice to have the first tier contain the earliest date cutoff date, the second with the next, and so on. You can add as many tiers as you like. This is the ticket pricing option you will use for early bird pricing. You will also choose if you are charging taxes based on registrant location or registration location. If registrant location is selected, it will utilize the Canadian tax table as described earlier in this tutorial. If registration location is selected, you can select which tax types you would like to apply to this ticket. The tax types are populated from what you have set up on the Manage Community page. The dynamic pricing option will function the same way as the date-based pricing, except you will choose a cutoff threshold instead of a cutoff date. For example, you may choose that the first 100 tickets will have a lower price than the next 100, and so on. You will again choose your tax options. No variable pricing is the most straightforward option and will simply present you with a regular price field and the same tax options as the previous two options. The Streams card will allow you to choose which streams this ticket type will be available to. You can choose Select All Streams as a quick way to make the ticket available to all streams, or choose to make the ticket type available to only a few streams. The last card on this page is Coupons. You may already see coupons available here to choose from if they have already been set up. Existing coupons can be found in the coupon repository under the Community Admin's Financials dropdown. If you haven't created any coupons, you can do so by clicking on the Create New Coupon button. When creating a coupon, you will need to name it, set a code, set an expiry date, and select the discount type. The discount type options are flat fee and percentage. You may also create exclusions so users can't use certain coupons together by choosing Yes on the Are there exclusions to this coupon's use option. Once a coupon is created, it will be added to your coupon repository and can be applied to any monetized item in your community. Now, let's navigate to the Sessions step. Sessions can contain workshops or be standalone. A user will have to choose at least one session, and if that session contains a workshop, they'll need to choose at least one workshop as well. You can create any amount of sessions, and those can contain any amount of workshops. Sessions cannot be monetized, but workshops can. To create a session, click on the Create New Session button. A session requires a name, while the description and location are optional. The session will require a start and end date, as well as a start and end time. If you choose Yes on the Is there a maximum number of attendees option, you will be presented with a Maximum Allowed Attendees field and a Is Waitlisting Allowed option. If you choose Yes for Is there a minimum number of attendees to proceed, then a Minimum Required Attendees field will appear for you to fill out. A Is there a deadline for determining minimum numbers option will also appear. If Yes is chosen, a deadline date picker will appear. Let's go back to the Edit Registration Sessions page and add a workshop to a session. You can click on the hamburger icon beside a session to add workshops to this session. This will bring up a list of any existing workshops associated with that session. On this page, we can edit existing workshops or create new ones. Let's click on Create New Workshop. A workshop will require a name while the description field is optional. The location and price fields are also required. You may enter 0 if you choose not to monetize the workshop. You may add an image for your workshop, and you must select a GIF, JPEG, or PNG file type, not greater than 10 megabytes in size. Beside the price field, select your tax calculation type and choose the applicable tax types. If you select Yes for Is this workshop restricted to administrator use only, then only admins will have access to this workshop. If you select Yes for Is there a maximum number of attendees, a Maximum Allowed Attendees field will appear as well as a Is Waitlisting Allowed option. If you select Yes for Is there a minimum number of attendees to proceed, a Minimum Required Attendees field will appear as well as a Is there a deadline for determining minimum numbers option. If you choose Yes for this option, a date picker for the deadline will appear. Just like the ticket step, we can now choose which streams will have access to this workshop and choose which coupons can be used. Let's move on to the Meals step. The first field you will need to complete is the account code. This is used for reporting and can be any combination of letters or numbers you choose. The Dietary Restrictions dropdown allows you to choose what dietary restrictions you will be offering for each meal. The options are food allergies, which will present a field for the user to enter their specific allergies, halal, kosher, vegan, and vegetarian. The final required field for the General Meals Information card is the Additional Information field. Click on the Save button before adding meals below. To create a meal, click on the Create New Meal button. The General Meal Information card begins with a required field for a name for the meal and a location. There is an optional field for a description of the meal. You will then select a meal date, start time, and end time. The next field is the price and the tax calculation type we've discussed in other steps of the registration module. The "Is there a maximum number of attendees" option will function identically to how it did in the workshop step. The waitlisting option will also appear if this is checked. The "Is this ticket included automatically for all registrants" option will give every registrant this meal. The price of the included meal will be set to 0 during checkout. The quantity field allows users to purchase multiple meals. In the accompanying persons card, you are asked, "Can meals be purchased by accompanying persons?" If you choose yes, a guest price field will appear as well as display a quantity field. If you choose yes for this option, you will be asked, "Is there a limit to the number an individual can purchase?" If yes is chosen, a maximum per person field will appear. Just like in previous steps, we can select which streams have access and apply any desired coupons. Next, let's navigate to the accommodation step. You will see a general accommodation information card with a field to add general information. Click on the Save button before creating your first accommodation. To create your accommodation, click on the Create New Accommodation button. On the Create Accommodation page, you can add a hotel name, hotel address, reservations phone number, reservations URL, and rate information. You can also upload an image associated with the hotel. Now, let's move to the excursion step. By now, this process should be very familiar. To create an excursion, click on the Create New Excursion button. On the Create Excursion page, fill out the name field, add a description, and upload an image associated with the excursion if you wish to do so. Next, add the excursion's date as well as a start and end time for the excursion. Now you can add a price as well as the tax setup we have covered in many previous steps. The maximum number of attendees option will bring up the waitlisting option if checked. You have fields to add the name of the excursion provider and an information URL. And just like in previous steps, the accompanying persons, streams, and coupons card will function the same. Now, let's navigate to the merchandise step. On the Edit Registration Merchandise page, you will click on the Create New Merchandise button. On the Create Merchandise page, fill out the name field and add a description and upload an image associated with the merchandise if you wish to do so. You will see an option for, "Are there multiple items associated with this merchandise?" If yes is chosen, you will see the title of the card below change from "Single Item" to "Multiple Items." An example of when to use this option is if you are selling t-shirts with multiple sizes. An item called New Item will appear in the Multiple Items card, and you may click the edit icon to set up this first item. A pop-up will appear where you must add a description for the first of your multiple items. Back to our example, this is where you would add your t-shirt size. You will then assign a price to this item. You will now see an option to display quantity field. This allows users to purchase more than one item. There is also an option asking, "Is there a per person limit?" And if yes is chosen, a maximum per person field will appear. If yes is chosen for, "Is there a limit to the total number available?" a maximum available field will appear. The last option asks, "Is there a deadline for ordering?" And if yes is chosen, a purchase deadline date picker will appear. Click on Save. To add additional items, click on the Add Item button. If you have chosen to create a single item, you will be asked, "Do you want to display a quantity field?" This allows users to purchase more than one item. You may now add your price for the item. The next options asks, "Is there a per person limit?" If yes is chosen, a maximum per person field will appear. The last option on this card asks, "Is there a limit to the total number available?" If yes is chosen, a maximum available field will appear. The next two cards for streams and coupons will be familiar at this point. Choose which streams and coupons you'd like to apply to this merchandise. Let's navigate to the Services step. You will be presented with a field for general information on the Special Services Information card. Under the title Services Available, you are asked if you provide wheelchair access. If you choose yes for the Translation Services Provided option, a field for translation information will appear. Click Save. You can now add services by clicking the Create New Service button. You will be taken to the Create Service page, where you are required to add a name and description of the service being offered. Next, let's move on to the Accompanying Persons step. This isn't a step of the form that requires setup, but will be populated with a list of the items that you've allowed accompanying persons to purchase. In this community, accompanying persons can only purchase tickets. There will be some column headers such as name, price, ticket type, has limit, and limit, as well as an edit button beside each of these items. When you click on the edit button, you will be taken to a page that reviews the options you've chosen for these items that accompanying persons can purchase. We will now look at the last step, which is the emails step. Each module has different emails that correspond to the workflows in that module. The registration module is the simplest, as it only has the registrant confirmation email to set up. Let's click on the edit icon. You will see that the email is formatted the same as emails elsewhere on the application and is pre-populated with a subject and body of the email. You may edit these as you wish, but you will need to add the sender's name and email address, regardless of whether you edit other areas of the email or not. You will notice that there are the usual edit functions you find in most word processors, but you will also see an icon to upload documents that your registrants can download, insert images, web links, and variables. The variables for each email in the application are specific to the workflows found in that module. The options in the registrant confirmation email are community name, date end, date start, registrant details, registration title, user first name, user last name, and user prefix. We will now look at the remaining items in the left menu bar. These remaining items are not a part of the form setup. The first page we will look at is the registrants page. Each module has a main page where you can see the users who have used that module, whether it is enrolling as a member, found on the members page, submitting an abstract, found on the submissions page, or registering for your conference, found on the registrants page. At the top of this page, you see a drop-down that allows you to filter the registrants by their registrant status. These include active, canceled, or deleted. Deleted is reserved for any fraudulent users that may come through the application. So please don't use this option if you want to allow the user to use the application again in the future. You will see many columns shown on this page, and you can edit which columns are visible by clicking on the Settings cog. The grid export will export an Excel spreadsheet with the headers you have visible based on your settings. The Export All button will export an Excel spreadsheet with much more information. The list of headers for this report is too large to cover in this tutorial, so please refer to the user manual if you want to know what data is available in this report. As an admin, you can register for users on their behalf by clicking the Create New Registrant button. You will be presented with a list of the users from your community. You can search the list using the inline filtering to find the user you wish to register. If you do not find them on this list, they may still be in another community in the application. Use the Search by First Name, Last Name, Affiliation, or Email Address field, and then click the Search button to search the whole application. Once you find the user you are looking for, click on the feather icon beside their name to proceed through the registration form on their behalf. Back on the registrants page, you can click on the Edit button beside a user's name to edit their registration on their behalf. On the Edit drop-down, you can cancel or delete a registrant, resend an email confirmation, navigate to the Payments page, and navigate to the user summary. As mentioned previously, the delete option is reserved for any bots that may come through, so please don't use this if you want to allow the user to use the application again in the future. When you choose to cancel a registrant, a pop-up will appear, asking if you're sure you want to cancel the registrant, as this will also cancel all tickets purchased in their registration process. If you choose yes, another pop-up will appear allowing you to choose a reason why they are canceling. The options are fraudulent, no-show, or unable to attend. When canceling a registrant, all their associated invoices and payments will be canceled as well. You can perform a refund on the payments after cancellation to balance the amount owing column for that user. The payments option will behave differently depending upon the number of payments the registrant has made during the registration process. If they've made multiple payments, you will see a pop-up displayed where you can choose which payment you would like to examine. If only one payment was made, it will take you directly to the Payments page. The Payments page will list the payment date, method, status, whether it is a payment, refund, or discount, the amount of the payment, and a reference code. The Edit drop-down on this page will give you the ability to view the receipt for the payment, and this will download as a PDF. The Edit button will take you to the Edit Payment screen. Since the Payments page is only showing payments that do not have outstanding balances, all the information on this screen will be read-only, except for the Notes field, which will contain a reference code from the payment provider. Back on the Registrants page, the final option on the Edit drop-down will take you to the User Summary. We've looked at the User Summary in previous tutorials, and will focus on the registration card of the User Summary in this tutorial. The registration card will give a brief overview of the registrant's ticket type and payment status. The Edit button will give the administrator another area to edit the registration on behalf of the registrant. The Edit drop-down will allow you to send the invoice email that will contain the payment URL for users to pay any outstanding balance if there is one. This email is configured under the Community Admin, Financials, Invoice Emails. The Edit drop-down also provides another area to access the Payments page and will function the same way as the payments from the Edit drop-down on the Registrants page. We'll now move on to Payment Summary. This page is largely read-only and presents information about the payments that were made in the registration module. You will see a status filter at the top of the screen as well as a date range to help you find the payment you are looking for. There is also inline filtering on most of the column headers to assist in finding the payment you are looking for. Lastly, this page has an export button which will download an Excel spreadsheet with all the payment information from the registration module. To find a list of all the column headers in this report, please refer to the user manual. The final item we will look at in the left menu bar is waitlists. Any item in your registration form that you've chosen to allow waitlisting for will be shown here. Each item will appear on its own card and show total tickets, number of tickets sold, number of available tickets, number of waitlisted registrants, and number of pending offers. If there are pending offers for that item, you will see a Manage Waitlist button. If there are enough available tickets to offer a registrant, a waitlisted item, there will be an exclamation point icon on that card. Let's click on the Manage Waitlist button. If there are pending offers, you will see a Resend Offer button. If an offer has not yet been made, and you've recently increased the number of available tickets to allow an offer to be made, you will see an Offer Spaces button. This button will automatically assign the offer to the registrants at the top of the waitlist. So, for example, if you've added an additional ticket to that item, it will offer the item to the first registrant on the list as indicated by the priority column. You will then be presented with an expiry date option to choose how long these registrants have to claim the waitlisted item. If you return to this page after the offer has expired, you can choose to resend the offer or click the trash can icon to remove that registrant from the waitlist. This will allow you to offer the item to the next registrant in line. Lastly, if you have a VIP that you'd like to move to the top of the list, you can click the Reorder Registrants button to change the order of the waitlisted registrants. Let's finish this tutorial by going back to the Edit Registration page. You may navigate there quickly by clicking on your registration title under the Registration drop-down in the left menu bar. The remaining items to look at are the two cards near the bottom of the page. The first card consists of many pages we've already covered, such as Registrants, Payment Summary, Manage Waitlists, and Manage Abstracts. One page we haven't looked at in this tutorial but have covered in previous tutorials is the registration form content blocks. This page will show the names of various pages from the registration form. Each of these pages will allow you to add content blocks at either the top or bottom of that page. For example, if we click on the Edit button beside the Excursions page, you will see two editors, one to add content to the top of the Excursions page and one to add content to the bottom of that page. These WYSIWYG editors are like what we've seen in the CMS and email areas from other parts of the application. Let's go back to the Edit Registration page and look at the Reports card. This card contains reports that we can use to obtain data from our registration form. Clicking on any of these will prompt you to download a .xlxs file. Please refer to the user manual to see the column headers for these reports. Now that we have covered every area of the registration module, let's preview our form. This is done by clicking the Preview Registration button. You will now step through the form you have created as if you were a registrant. There are 2 pages of the actual registration form you will not see in preview mode. You will not see the first page of the registration form that asks users to update their user profile information, and you will not see the last page of the form that allows the users to pay. If you happen to create a content block on the payment page, you can preview that by briefly enabling your form and clicking on the Register Now button on the dashboard. You can go through the entire form using your admin profile, and once you've ensured your content block on the payment page looks sufficient, simply click the Cancel button to avoid completing your registration. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to support@confmanager.com.